Hello everybody and welcome back to the garden. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today is going to be a real quick episode talking about how and when to water your seedlings. This is a common question in the gardening community that typically involves the beginning gardener. Here we want to start out our vegetable seedlings and grow them and germinate them, but there's so many different steps that we're just not sure of, and watering is definitely one of those steps. And improper watering can also make it or break it when it comes to the life of your plants. So in today's video, I hope to guide you a little bit on how to do that to make sure that your plants are as healthy as possible. This seedling tray here is full of our cucumbers, zucchini, and then we've got some arugula over here. Everything has been growing great so far. We had some issues with mold early on in the season, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that as it's a sign of overwatering. All right, for watering your seedlings, obviously you need to water your seedlings once you originally put your seeds in the soil and you're starting to germinate them. Some people prefer to put domes over this, and I think that's part of the reason as to why I had so much mold this year is because I put a dome on top of it, and that creates humidity in the whole system instead of just down in the roots and inside of these cells. So we got a little bit of this white mold. Thankfully, it is not harmful to the plants, and I have a video on how to take care, prevent, and maintain your seedlings if you do have white mold problems. I'll have that link in the description below or put a card up on this video. But that's one reason why I'm shying away from using those domes like most people do. To water your seedlings for the first time and then every time after that, I always go with bottom watering because we don't want to be spreading any diseases or fungus over the top of the soil by splashing water around. Plus, if we're using fertilizer later on in the seedling's life, you don't want to be putting that on top of the seedlings either. So this is why bottom watering is my first choice when it comes to watering. All we'll do is pour the water in. So it's about a quarter of the depth of this tray. After you've poured this water in, you want to let it sit for about 20 minutes to a half hour. You're going to see the color of the soil go from a lighter brown up to a darker brown like this cell right here. After about 20 to 30 minutes, just pour out all of the excess water, and the soil by that point would have soaked up all the water that it needs until you're due for your next watering. Also, a quick tip, make sure that your seedling tray is on a level surface, so not only one side of your seedling tray is getting water. If that is an issue, just pour in even more water if you go about 1/3 of the way up on your seedling tray instead of that quarter depth. That'll be just fine. As long as you make sure that you're pouring out all the excess water after 30 minutes of time. Obviously, when you're pouring out your seed tray, the cells can fall out if they're not in there tight. So make sure that you don't lose all of your seedlings when pouring this. If that is an issue, you can cut a little notch in your tray that makes it easier to pour out the excess water. You don't need absolutely all of the water removed. If there's a little bit left in the bottom of the tray, that's just fine. Now, a few days down the line, it's about time to water your seedlings again. You're going to be able to tell when it's time to water because the soil would then return to its original color before you'd water it. And feeling on the surface of the soil, you want to make sure that it's not damp and it's not wet. And then you can also lift up the tray. If that tray still feels heavier than it was originally, then you don't need to water yet. But if that tray feels pretty light, based off of your instincts, you'll be able to tell if it is or not, then it is time to water. So those couple of things are great indications on when it's time to water. The soil color and then the tray weight. Unfortunately, I can't tell you an exact timeline of when to water your seedlings because that can vary greatly depending on the humidity of the environment that you're keeping it in, if there is a fan going on it or not. By the way, I do recommend putting a fan on your seedlings. And it can also vary depending on the type of substrate you have. If you're doing like a coir substrate or a peat moss and vermiculite substrate, those can all vary a little bit from one another. So while I can't give you an exact time of when to water your seedlings, I can say that I, on average, water these every 3 or 4 days. Sometimes longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. Again, the environmental factors are what's going to make the difference here. Now onto the signs of overwatering. Your seedlings might lay over at the base, or you might get some black, dark bases that start to get very mushy. This is not a good sign and a sign that you're overwatering. Another sign, as I talked about before, is this fungus growth or mold growth. If you get a white mold growth that's real fuzzy over the top of the soil, that's going to be a sign of overwatering as well. To remedy that mold, you can put on a fan and then reduce your watering. If you're not watering enough, your seedlings will flop over in most cases. And then if you test the soil, see that it is very, very dry, you water it, and then your seedlings will bounce back. That way you know the signals that your plants have been giving you, that you're underwatering, and maybe you can look back at how many days it was since you watered and adjust your schedule accordingly so you don't damage your plants anymore in the future. So that's just about it when it comes to watering. It's very simple as long as you know what signs to look for. Again, it's the soil color and then the weight of your tray. Thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you found this video entertaining and possibly you even learned a little bit. If you liked today's video, please subscribe and hit that bell button to see everything that we've got growing in the garden, because we are expanding every single day. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next episode.